this video, I'm gonna be showing you guys the Fortnite controller settings that the pro players are using this season. How I picked the pro players was by looking at their Fortnite tracker and seeing how good they've been doing in competitive recently. And the top controller players on that list were Miro, Day, Reet, Letshi, which those are all super known, super famous controller players. But then I also found 3 more controller players that aren't as known that are doing really well in competitive lately. And those controller players are Kruyor, Squish, and Byla. No idea if I'm pronouncing those names right, but those are a bunch of controller players that have been doing really well in competitive lately. And I made sure to look at the most recent settings of all these pro players because Fortnite has changed quite a bit this season. Obviously, everyone already knows that they added a bunch of new mechanics, like the really fast tackle sprint, you have the mantling stuff, you're able to get shot out of cannons now, there's zip lines all over the place, and with literally all of this new stuff, it all has something in common, and that's that it allows players to move super fast. I think this might actually be the first season in a very long time where controller players are literally almost forced to change their settings to be able to keep up with the game. Because of all this fast-paced movement, I want to find the best controller settings, and there's no better place for looking at controller settings than looking at the best of the best controller players. The players that are on this game every single day competing at the highest level. These players know what good settings are, and so I went in and found the settings of literally every single one of those players that I named, and these are my findings. Some of these player settings are literally from like a few days ago, some of them are from a month or so ago, but they're all the most recent settings that they have available. For slide hold time, we have anything from a 0.01 to a 0.149. Build modes ranging from a 1.6 to a 2.2. However, the outlier here in all the settings is going to be Reet. And we'll just highlight Reet real quick because he plays on exponential while every single one of the other 6 pro players play on linear. So his exponential settings are going to be quite a bit different than everyone else's linear settings. So really, we're ranging from about a 1.8 to a 2.2 on build, 1.8 to a 2.5 on edit, about 40 to a 43 on both look senses. None of these pro players use any sort of look boost. For ADS horizontal, we're anywhere from a 7 to a 16. And this is actually Letshi on a 16, which is quite a bit higher than everyone else. The next highest is only 10. So most are actually between a 7 and 10, and same for vertical, between an 8 and 10. The only person that uses an ADS boost is Miro, and he uses a 1% boost for both horizontal and vertical ADS. Not a single one of these pro players use a look damping time, and like I said, only Reet is on exponential, the rest are all on linear. And for dead zones, we got anywhere between a 6 and an 11. But these are all on different kinds of controllers. There's players in here that use the Astro C40, there's players that use the Xbox One, there's players that use the PS4. And these settings for Miro actually came while he was playing the PS5 console cup about a week and a half ago. So these dead zones are actually for his PS5 controller. So what I did was took all that information, took all these guys' settings, and came up to what I think are the best pro settings for this season. Basically taking the average from all these settings, and here's what they are. A 0.01 slide hold time, both build and edit multipliers at a 2.0 flat. For look sense on horizontal and vertical, a 43% with no look boost. For ADS sense, we're gonna sit at a 10% for both horizontal and vertical, and no boost on this either. No look dampening time, these settings are for linear. Sorry to Reet, but Reet was definitely in the minority playing on exponential. So linear, and then for dead zones, like I said, these are gonna vary. For my PS4 controller, I'm using a 10% for both left and right stick. And these fast-paced mechanics are not going to go away in future seasons, so these settings are not only good for right now, but they're actually going to be good for a long time. And that just brings up another really good point, that if you find these settings comfortable, you shouldn't switch off of them. It's actually been proven by a ton of pro players that staying on the same settings for a long time will actually help you improve more compared to you like just switching settings all the time. Players like Day, Scoped, and Mirror are great examples. These guys have all been on very similar settings to what they are on currently for literally years. That means they never have to adjust to new sensitivities, they never have to change anything, they literally just continue to get better at their same exact settings, and it helps them stay consistent and just get insane at the game. I hate playing arena because ever since they took out building, people just hop on here and smurf. And that also kind of brings up a good point because you shouldn't always copy pro players' settings. Obviously, pro players' main objective in Fortnite is to do well in competitive, and competitive's like 90% end game. So these pro controller players especially, they don't even really have to be good at building or editing. Really, their main focus is going to be aiming, and then they also have to make sure that their movement is decent. Because in competitive, when you're end game, you're typically with a trio or a duo. And these pro players are strategic about it. They pick teammates that are on mouse and keyboards that have better mechanics and can move faster and can build and edit faster. So these settings, depending on what you want to accomplish, might not even be the best. If you're just a creative warrior, these pro settings are not necessarily meant for that. Even though they can work for that and you can still be really good in creative on these settings are specifically meant for pro players in a competitive setting. Honestly, I am gonna turn on my slide the whole time because I do not like how fast I'm able to slide. That's actually annoying. By the way, I am back in normal solos where there's no building because I just can't handle the sweats right now. And now I'm able to show off the aim settings a little bit more. Another thing that's usually overlooked when it comes to controller settings, but it's actually really important to factor in, is what the controller or what console the players whose settings you're copying is using. Wow, that aim is actually pretty insane. However, like I was saying, settings actually feel and act differently depending on which controller or platform you're playing on. These exact settings that I'm using right now in this video will feel different whether you're on PlayStation, Xbox, PS5. And it's important to realize that and make adjustments as needed. I know TK is a player that's very good on both PC and PlayStation. However, on PlayStation, he actually turns all of the sensitivities down, I think 2 or 3. So it is important to adjust your settings accordingly and kind of just figure out whatever is comfortable. When you're copying settings, think of the settings as a base and then kind of go from there. Overall, I would say I'm actually enjoying these settings. They're pretty solid so far. And they definitely seem to have a focus on aim, so I can definitely see why they'd be really good pro settings. And boom, just like that, showing off the aim settings a ton. Coming in with 12 kills, really solid. I had a lot of like long shots too. Definitely think that these are some solid settings. These pro players definitely know their stuff and definitely know that these are really good. Let me know if you try them, and thank you so much for watching.